This is the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Show. We are talking Saturday's five-game slate at DraftKings. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by the usual duo, Ryan Belongia at Ryan Belongia, Jordan Cooper at Blender HD. Welcome in, guys. Are we ready for the first Manchester City slate of the season? Real main slate of the season, and also the first five-game slate. I believe it was 4 games last week. Jordan, are you ready for the Erling Haaland introduction to DFS at DraftKings here?
Well, I'm in cash games. I may be ready for it, depending on how many goals he scores.
Yeah, that's gonna be the main thing. Ryan, you touched on the beginning of your article. Check that out, rotowire.com, and you just right off the bat, you just started with the Erling Haaland and De Bruyne conversation. And the thing that popped out to me is we currently have Haaland at minus 280 odds to score. That's like Lewandowski odds to score in Champions League against, a low end team. I guess that's even Bundesliga odds to score here. But that seems, I can't remember the last time I saw those kind of odds in the Premier League to score. Surprising, I don't know. But Ryan, just your thoughts here on this, on the Erling Haaland selection, and how popular you think he's going to be in GPPs.
Yeah. So didn't love City slates before, but now I think we're gonna like them even less going forward. I just started my article off talking about Haaland and KDB. On the podcast we did right before the season started, I mentioned, that I pretty much just mindlessly jammed KDB on every slate last year, and it worked great. And that is just, it's not going to work this year now that they have Haaland. I mean, City have never really had a number 9 like this who's going to score a ton of goals. So yeah, in cash game or in GPPs, he'll be popular. I think you can afford him. There's some value at forward, at midfield. So yeah, he's going to be popular. I mean, I don't know. That's these City slates are going to be annoying trying to choose, but the rest of the slate I like. So
I noticed you said Haaland. Are we doing Haaland or are we doing Haaland? What's
Haaland. Whatever. I mean, I say tons of names wrong.
We're just going back to we had the long discussion of Cancelo and Cancelo and Cancelo last year. So
Haaland, okay.
All right, but yeah, looking at the odds here, implied goal total, Manchester City 2.77, much higher than anyone else, and they also have clean sheet odds near 60%. Arsenal are home against Leicester City. Their implied total is at 2, and then everyone else is kind of actually the one thing that stands out here is we got all the 5 home teams are favored, so that is pretty interesting. But Southampton home against Leeds, Wolverhampton home against Fulham, Brighton home against Newcastle. So Jordan, looking through the forward list, we got Haaland, and is this a dinky do slate? I guess if you do Haaland, are you just going all the way down? Is that what we're doing here?
I'm not. I don't think you play Haaland in cash games.
Okay, so I guess that's the first question. No Haaland in cash games.
Forward is ulcer level.
I think it's a true dinky do slate, Jordan, like your favorite.
The true dinky. I'm not
Maybe
sure.
Maybe not the true, but like whatever Gibbs White is, and then someone below him.
Right. I could see if you don't play Haaland. The problem with this, first off, at 11,000, Haaland pretty much needs 2 to kill you.
Yep.
To do damage. If he just scores 1 goal, who cares at 11,000? I can make that up elsewhere. We got midfielders to play. We got deep defenders to play. So I like the utility spot. Like if I could play no forwards this slate, it would be great, right? But you got to play 2. I'd rather just play 1 even, but I don't even like playing 1. So like to spend 11,000 on Haaland, just like you'd need 2 goals in order for that to be worth it. But then underneath him, you got guys like Pascal Gross and Bukayo Saka at 9,700 and 9,300. They have higher, theoretical floors. But they're also expensive. They lead you to very similar constructions that you'd make with Haaland anyway. So I don't think you're gaining much. You're gaining a little bit of floor safety, but Haaland is minus 270 to score. So, like, if you're going to play Gross or Saka, might as well just find the money and play Haaland at that point. So that's why, like, I'm knocking out guys like Gross, Saka, Gabriel Jesus at 9,000 for Arsenal. Like, but even guys like Podence. The highest I'd go, maybe Phil Foden at 8,000, but I think you're kind of playing Foden for a goal, assist, chances created at that price anyway. So it's not. What's the difference between his floor, other than being in a great spot home against Bournemouth, and guys that are underneath? That's why, like, going down to, like, if Moutinho is out, which it looks like he will be, I don't mind playing more Gibbs White at 6,600. I mean, it's not sexy or anything, but it is a positive matchup home against Fulham. You know, you have to expect the Wolves will probably get a decent amount of set pieces, and if he's splitting with Neto, and Neto on this slate is midfield only. So, like, Neto would be like, okay, where's Neto? There's my forward spot. You can't do that. And, like, a lot of Neto's value comes in the fact that he fills a forward spot. Him just at midfielder isn't nearly as valuable. And his price is what? 8,200? Yeah, that ain't happening when Ward-Prowse is 700 more. So, yeah. So, like, I see, like, Gibbs White. I guess you could get away with, like, the Newcastle guys, St. Maximin or Almiron, but I'm looking down. I'm like, Rodrigo. I mean, I prefer Rodrigo over Bamford, but Bamford has better goal scoring odds. Do you go Adam Armstrong or Joe Aribo if he's in?
Yeah. I think that was a really good breakdown. I agree with pretty much all of it. Yeah, I think you just go with a Southampton guy. I mean, those other guys that you mentioned.
You hear my voice. Like, I'm not thrilled about any of this.
No, but 4,500 is a good price, and it's the same as Gibbs White. Both Southampton and Wolves are home favorites, so I think that pushes those guys just over the top a bit. So, I think I could see Pascal Gross, like, being sort of popular in cash. I don't know. I never really pay attention too much, but
that just seems too expensive, though. 9,700.
He seems too expensive to me, but I think people still like him at home, and he scored 2 goals last week. I don't know.
That's nuts.
I prefer Saka, but yeah, I would. Yeah, no, I would start with Gibbs White and then someone below him for cash. I'm anxious to hear, Jordan, who you're going to play in the flex. When we get there. I mean, for
when
cash.
We get there, depending on your construction, maybe a midfielder.
Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah.
So is anything going into your thoughts here that Haaland should probably be like 12K because he's minus 280 to score? Does this play into anything here?
It's all in the relation of the slate. I think It's not like we have, like, underpriced people everywhere where he's like, in comparison to the other players.
Southampton are underpriced, technically.
Yeah, I think you're right. Southampton are technically a little underpriced. I think Arsenal is around properly priced. I mean, Man City is it's weird to say on this slate that Man City are what exactly are they? They have a 2.73 implied goal total with a 90% win odds and a 62% clean sheet chance. And I don't consider any of their players to be priorities.
Yeah, same.
Like I want to play them, but based on construction and price and the way that production gets spread out amongst them, I couldn't nail that. It's weird to say that. I think it's weird to say the one that I'm more likely to prioritize is actually Joe Cancelo, than Kevin De Bruyne when we get to it. But I'm like. I don't think you need to play Foden or Haaland. I even think in GPPs, I think Foden and Haaland are going to be very popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. It's crazy when, you look at those odds for City, and I don't think you need any of those guys for cash or any of the City players for cash either. The guys I was considering most would be probably Ederson and then Cancelo. Yeah, but so then I was thinking, the reason I was asking about flex is because I was ending up with, let's say Pedro Neto there or some high-priced midfielder. But that's not too far away from Haaland. So like it's, you can make a quick 1v1 to get there too. I don't know, it was something to think about at least.
So
if you didn't pay up for Ederson, if I didn't pay up for Ederson, I could like get to Haaland at flex instead of like a Neto.
Well, I think based on my blocking strategy for at least cash games, if you're not playing Haaland, I think you're more likely to play Ederson.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do too, and I think it makes sense. Yeah, I think you should play Ederson if you're not playing Haaland.
If Mahrez starts over like a Grealish or something, does that change any thought process here?
Maybe actually, yeah. I mean, he'd probably be on penalties and definitely would take half the sets. 9,200's like a pretty decent price. He's better than Gross, and he probably has a higher floor than Saka. At least most people think so. So yeah, I mean, you could probably go to Mahrez.
If Mahrez, okay, here's a question: if Mahrez starts, do you play Mahrez and don't play KDB?
Yeah. I don't think you can play KDB. I mean, just because I know I don't want to overreact to one game, but 4 players took set pieces last week and he didn't take any. I mean, I know that's happened before, and then he jumps back on him. But
the thing in the past was that the Man City set pieces don't really matter. Like you're playing them for the upside.
There was another thing in the past too, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this season. But when they didn't have Haaland, De Bruyne was like playing a false 9 a lot of times, and even if he didn't start there, would end up there. And I mean, he's scoring bags of goals. So I don't know if that's going to happen anymore with Haaland in there.
All right, yeah, he had 2 shots last match, no shots on goal. For cash games, I don't know if we mentioned Joelinton. Someone's asking about it in the chat. I know, Ryan, you mentioned it in your article. At Brighton, we'll see how that goes. But
yeah,
Jordan,
I mean,
are you looking at Joelinton at all? Or yeah, Ryan,
well, I said the Newcastle guys, so I'm like St. Maximin, Joelinton, Almiron. I mean, obviously ASM has, I think, more upside.
Right.
Of course, he's a little bit more expensive, but like all the guys that I mentioned, like it's mix and match. It's whatever fits.
Yeah.
That's why it's like Rodrigo. I mean, like the.
Do you guys think the Newcastle guys are going to be over rostered on this slate just because of what happened last match?
Probably not. Nobody really likes to roster them anyways.
Okay.
But as far as Joelinton, it's weird to say, but like of all the forwards, 6K and under, like he might have the highest floor. I don't know, and it's really just down to the fact that he plays.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. But I mean, last season, like in this midfield role, like at times he had floors of like 3 points, 5 points. Like we're basing this off of what he did last match, but I mean.
Well, not just last match. I mean, they
were down a goal. They had to Didn't they have to?
They dominated Nottingham Forest.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, Joelinton's fine. He could have had a huge game last week. I mean, he scored 20 points, but he probably should have scored. I mean, he made a sick run, like beat a few guys on the dribble, got into the box, and just shot wide. But yeah, and he's fine if you want to go there. I don't really love that game. I mean, it has the lowest total. I like the Southampton spot much better, so I'll look there first. But
I think there's a clear GPP direction on this slate.
Let's hear.
The clear is to play Arsenal, Saka and Jesus. I mean, for their prices, they're the second biggest favorite on the slate, but obviously nowhere close to Man City. Like who's playing Saka and Jesus and Martinelli? Who's playing these guys for these when you could play Foden and you could play the Man City guys for about the same price? Like let's say Man City, it's 1-0 and
yeah, no, I'm playing them definitely. I've made 4 4 lineups, just like dummy lineups, and I have multiple Arsenal players in a couple of them. Definitely agree.
If we're talking still cheaper forwards, Miguel Almiron is still pretty cheap at 4,700. I mean, just going at the Newcastle players there. But in terms of Southampton, it seems like the new guys, Joe Aribo, it seems like, he's more likely if it's Aribo and Armstrong up front. Again, it seems like Adam Armstrong is in the same position as he was last season where, he went 45 minutes in the opener and it's just not like happening for him in the league right now. So I guess Adams Armstrong was what I mentioned last week, but I would take a Rebo over Armstrong. We could even see like a Shea Adams comes in or a Stuart Armstrong plays up front. So something to keep an eye on. De Cordova Reed, also Fulham there, 4,400. He's a winger who Fulham aren't that deep of a team. So he's a guy who should see at least 80 minutes there. So anything else pop up to you guys at forward here?
No, but I didn't mean to cut that Arsenal conversation off so quick.
Sorry. Okay.
No, you got any takes on that Arsenal Leicester game, Adam? Because I do.
Well, Leicester kind of screwed me last week by not winning against Brentford. They allowed those 2 goals in the second half. Overall, that match was more defensive than the 2-2 appeared. So I think that one is kind of stands out. But I do like Arsenal in the spot. I'm just kind of tentative on what we're going to get out of Leicester. They just had those moments where, they allowed those goals to Brentford last weekend. But, on the surface right here, you look at the odds and everything, it just seems like a spot where Arsenal should win this match, should get a couple goals. So I do like the Arsenal play, though.
Yeah, me too. I've been in the recent past, anytime I've been overly bullish on Arsenal, it's tended to backfire. But I finally think I think it's the new team now. They're much better with Jesus and Zinchenko and that midfield. I think they're going to finish top 4. I was really impressed with the first 20 minutes against Palace. They sort of hung on at the end. It was nervy. And Palace actually led possession for the second half, but that happens. Yeah, I think Leicester's in trouble here. I think multiple goals from Arsenal. I think Arsenal win by multiple goals. I think they're going to surprise some people this season with how good they are and how good Arteta is. I remember when we thought, or not, I didn't think, but you guys. You guys predicted Arteta as the first manager to get sacked. No, not you guys, but somebody. I saw that podcast you host, Adam.
It was Chris. It was Chris on. I'll say it right now. It was not me.
But yeah, anyway. So yeah, I love Arsenal, and I agree with Jordan. No one's going to pay these $9,000 prices for these guys, and so yeah, it makes a ton of sense for tournaments.
You mentioned Heechan in your article. I feel like we should mention him. He's 5,800 Wolves forward against Fulham. So, that deserves a mention right there. Anything else pop out and forward? Callum Wilson, Danny Welbeck. That's a match with the lowest implied total. So it's really, you're just hoping for a goal from those guys in a match with an implied total around 2.5. So, it's just GPP trying to hope for the best situation, but not really an overly popular cash option there. So
yeah, I wrote about Heechan because he's cheap and because Neto and Gibbs White will be relatively popular options, and it would make sense to pair them with Heechan. Just people don't like playing Heechan. He'll be under-owned, and he's playing center forward, so he can definitely score.
I actually think everyone in this Southampton Leeds match is underpriced because it's not like Southampton are that great of a defensive team, and Hasenhuttl is still trying to figure out his formations and everything every match. It seems like, even though there's only been one match, but it just seems like those guys are also underpriced. Like even here, once we get to midfield here, you look at that, but even Jordan mentioned Rodrigo and Bamford, like 5,200, 5,300. That's not terrible. I mean, you see Bamford right here, plus 155 to score, which is what, sixth best on the slate. That's better odds than Saka to score. So I think that's pretty cheap there for just if you're looking for goals even. But
yeah, they're slightly underpriced. I agree.
Midfielder, you guys are off at De Bruyne. Is that what's going on? So in cash
I'm
games,
not saying that I'm off. I'm not
Okay.
off.
Jordan,
I'm just questioning whether or not you need, like, I feel, Ryan, would you agree with me? I feel that from a peripheral perspective, James Ward-Prowse, I feel, has a more normal, the best way to put it, has a more normal distribution of outcomes than Kevin De Bruyne, unless Kevin De Bruyne is like on a monopoly of set pieces, that I'd almost rather play Ward-Prowse first. And if I could get Ward-Prowse and De Bruyne in, great. But if I can't, then so be it. That's why I said it's weird. Man City are humongous favorites, and I'm like, well, how am I not playing Haaland and De Bruyne in my lineup?
Yeah.
Why aren't I'm playing Ward-Prowse and Gibbs White instead?
I know.
Right?
I know it's very weird, but yeah, I agree. I think that's the right way to put it too. More normal distribution. And yeah, like I agree. I think Ward-Prowse is the first one in for cash games. Yeah, he's the safest, and it's a very high floor. And then you look at it and it's like, well, last year, City against a promoted team, I would always play De Bruyne over Ward-Prowse for 1,000 more, for only 1,000 more. But yeah, no, not. I'm with you. I think Ward-Prowse, yeah, that salary, he could be 10K. Home against Leeds is a good spot, and he's got a monopoly of sets, and there's just too many unknowns with KDB. So yeah, I'm with you.
So if you don't go KDB, you go Ward-Prowse. There are still other options to look at. Ryan probably not going to be using James Maddison based off his thoughts on that matchups, but James Maddison, 9,500 at Arsenal, pretty expensive for being the second biggest underdog on the slate. But again, that's all set pieces. And then we just go down. Jack Harrison, as I mentioned before, 7,800. I guess Pedro Neto, 8,200 is in there as well. Those guys stand out. And we got Grealish here, 6,900. Fairly cheap for a Man City guy, but as we saw last season, he did not score a lot of goals last season. So you got that. Martin Odegaard, Ryan used him in some of his King of the Pitch lineups last season. I assume he's going to be using him on this slate because he's not going to be popular. No one's going to look at Odegaard in this spot at 7,100. So we got those guys. Jordan, for cash games, what does any of those guys stand out in case you're not using KDB?
Well, I mean, Ward-Prowse number one. Okay,
right.
So we're already up there.
Yep.
In this range, I'd be more inclined. I don't mind Grealish at 6,900 in cash. I mean, to get a piece of Man City. I mean, attacking, he'll probably take a corner or two. I mean, like he'll get peripherals. I mean, like I don't mind Grealish as not a KDB replacement, but like in this range, I'm looking like, do I choose between that or like Gundogan at 5,900? Seems like I'd rather have Grealish for 1,000 more. Or then I look at like Brendan Aronson at 6,000. Because I think in the long run, Harrison and Aronson are going to be should be about the same price player in the long run. Now, Harrison had a great game last time out. So I don't mind. Like, these are I don't mind level players because they're in this 6K range where Trippier, Cancelo, Target, like the defenders that I want to play are getting close to this price range. And I'd rather play those defenders than these midfielders. But I still got to fill midfield spots. So like I'm looking at a lineup where I start my midfield with two guys, Ward-Prowse and Andres Pereira of Fulham at 4,100, and I just give me the two out of anyone on this slate, you have the two monopoly set piece takers. Just jam them into my cash lineup and just let me figure everything out from there. So I don't have to worry about like some of these other guys, whether or not they make value. And I don't think Pereira is as bad as like a Joe Matinho type. Pereira is actually somewhat attacking. He plays for a bad team, but I don't think Wolves is that bad of a matchup at 4,100. I think his price, we're going to see his price throughout the year be in the mid fives, right? I'm going to probably see him around 56, 5,700. So at 4,100 in the beginning of the year, I'll take my 8 point. Give me my 8 points for 4,100. Give me my 16 points for 8,900 for James Ward-Prowse, and try to run me down. I'll get the two better defenders that get double-digit points, and hopefully Haaland doesn't kill me. And even in that type of lineup, you can fit in Kevin De Bruyne if you wanted to, depending on exactly what you do. But yeah, I to me, it's Ward-Prowse, it's Andres Pereira, and then the third one could be Grealish. The third one could be Aronson. The third one could be, we could talk about some other cheap midfielders also. You could pair these guys together, but to me, from a cash perspective, I feel the best with Ward-Prowse and Pereira.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Like you said, you got two Monopoly set piece takers, and Pereira is too cheap, and Ward-Prowse is probably too cheap too. So you definitely just start your cash lineups with those two. I
have some interesting people. I have some interesting people in the cheap range, but
me like too. You just don't need them.
Well, right. Well, you'll need them in Haaland builds.
Oh, sure, right.
Like if you play let's say you go cheap let's say you play the 3 defender lineup and you pay up twice at forward. Now this is probably not a cash build. Let's say you're playing Haaland and Foden, and you're paying up a defender. Like you probably need 3 Pereira plus like 2 sub 5, another 4K midfielder, and I think there's you can take flyers on some. I'm interested. This is probably more for GPPs, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world in cash. Is Alexis McAllister at 4,900 for Brighton? Or am I crazy?
Yeah.
He's playing central. He's playing like a central midfield role. He's not even attacking. At least that's what he did last week. So that's one thing I'd worried about right there.
I think it's a little risky. Yeah, I think it's a little too risky. I get it, but yeah, he's been more defensive, and he was more defensive last week.
Gross he was more defensive than Adam Lallana last week. I looked at the heat maps. Like
and
he
Gross,
sat back.
And they moved Gross up as well, so it's weird.
Okay, well, scratch that then.
But I know what you're not. I mean,
from a long-term perspective, you like Alexis McAllister in a favored matchup at 4,900.
Yeah.
Well, why the hell not?
I think he took their last penalty kick too, but it really depends on whether he's playing defensive or more attacking like he did last year. But yeah, I think. I mean, you anyone else? Like, I think there's.
How about Romeo Lavia on South?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up.
Oh, everyone's on Lavia. Jeez, all right.
I mean, okay, so apart from DFS, this Romeo Lavia is 18. They signed him from Manchester City last week against top. He's a defensive midfielder though, so I don't like. He's not going to be a.
But Ryan also realized that Romeo is, if he's still in the lineup, I mean, Romeo is more of a tackling. Right. It gives Lavia a little bit more freedom.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I've been thinking of too. And you're right. And so Ward-Prowse is in there too, who has been a deeper lying defensive player too. So which one of those 3 is going to benefit from getting forward more than they would or more than they did last year? I totally agree. But I watched Lavia for the first time play 90 minutes against Spurs last week, and man, he was impressive. I mean, it's part of the reason why I like Southampton even more this week. So I look at, they're already underpriced, and they have new players like Lavia and Aribo in there. So maybe if, I'm correct, then they're better than the public thinks, and they're a little bit better than the market thinks. And maybe these guys are even a little bit better plays. So yeah, it makes me like Southampton. And yeah, you can go there for cash. I mean, what is he? 3,300.
3,300, right.
7.5 against Spurs, and he looked great. So yeah, why not?
I'm just gonna plug in Pereira and Lavia into my midfield, and then we got room for Gross and Haaland at forward. So I'm all set right there.
Yeah, there's I don't know. You could do that. I wouldn't do it in cash, but yeah, there's a few cheap guys that you could take a chance on. I think the Arsenal
Before we
guys are.
go further, I mentioned this to Ryan before the show, but Daniel James is back from a suspension for Leeds. He did not play last week, but Jesse Marsh basically said he's like our first sub off the bench. He's gonna be a sub in this first game back. He played with the U21s or something last week, so he's fit. So if you're looking at Harrison, if you're looking at Aronson, we'll see how that turns out. It's assumed that Aronson's going to be the first one off between the two. We'll see. James played on the left and right hand side last season, but this is a situation where like Daniel James is on the bench. However matches he played last season, he's going to be coming on for at least 20 minutes, probably, if I had to guess, at a minimum. So that changes from what happened last week, where Harrison, I think he went a 90, and then Aronson went 80 something. So that's something throws a little wrench there for the Leeds players.
It's something.
Also, sorry, there's going to be like record temperatures or just like 90 plus degrees on Saturday, which I'm sure you know, Ryan. That also has to come into play for a situation like this, where like Aronson basically was tired last week. So just another thought into rostering
brutal.
These guys who don't play 90. So
it's brutal here in London. It's like 95 right now, and it feels hotter because with the sun just beating down. But yeah, anyways, good point about James. What I will say is he also played center forward last year, and he also played Rodrigo's position last year. So they can get sub too. Like
I think Rodrigo's going off anyway, right?
Yeah, I just mean like it's not something that I'd look at too much, just because again you're playing.
You're just guessing.
Well, you're just guessing, and again, like 75, 80 minutes isn't even the worst thing in tournaments. I mean, you're playing these guys to score goals. I mean, guys scored a goal and an assist, in the first half. So I mean, you don't want to let that factor in too much for tournaments, at least.
Yeah. Otherwise at midfield, as I said, a chance Stuart Armstrong starts. That's something to keep an eye on. Probably any thoughts to Dewsbury Hall here? 5,000 seems like a stretch there at Arsenal. It always seems like I keep coming back to Ruben Neves for some reason, even though it doesn't make any sense. But he seems to get a couple shots every game. He kind of gets forward here and there. He's home against Fulham. It's something maybe if you want to go where no one else will at 4,600. Solly March playing on the wing for Brighton. I mean, his numbers didn't look that great last match, but 4,400. Anything else pop up to you guys in this range here?
I like Dewsbury Hall as a player, but I'm not playing any Leicester players against Arsenal. But yeah, Dewsbury Hall played in a more attacking role last week and scored a goal, but no, not in this spot. Ruben Neves, yeah, sure, because I think, like you might have some other Wolves guys to pair him with, but he comes up with goals throughout the season in all different ways, and I think he's taking penalties with no Jimenez. That would be my guess. I'd have to check. But he definitely took some last season.
Yeah, it might be Neto, but I guess we don't.
Yeah, you never know with Neto back, right?
Yeah. So we mentioned Mark Roca last week. I'm just seeing now Tyler Adams 3,100. There we go. If you don't want to go with the Lavia route that everyone else is going, Tyler Adams defensive midfield. There you go.
No thanks.
Okay. All right, Philip Billing, no, and not at Manchester City. But yeah, it's as you guys mentioned, it's pretty in cash games. It's JWP, it's Pereira. That's pretty simple, and then kind of go from there. But defender, I don't think it's as simple as that. It's not as simple as last week, even though we have Newcastle here. But Cancelo 6,500, Trippier 6,200, Target 5,500. I know my thoughts on this, but are you guys on the target not the target, but the Newcastle fullbacks in this spot? Jordan, are you going with them in cash games this week?
I think I'm more likely to play Cancelo with one of them.
Okay.
Right? I think I'm more likely to do that. Or you play both the Newcastle fullbacks. I think a defender, and you don't have to play. If I had my choice, I'd want to play all three of them. Yes. If I had my choice. If salary wasn't in a position wasn't an issue and everything. But I don't think any of them are like musts. I think you should play at least one of those three. Okay? At minimum. One of those three. But I think Johnny at 4,400 is passable. I think the Southampton wingbacks now, Walker Peters and Perot, I prefer Walker Peters, are passable also for a little bit cheaper. And then if you want to punt, I think the better punts are just playing Ake or Diaz, playing the Man City center backs rather than anything else underneath here. So, like, to me, that's how I view defender. That if you're building a Haaland lineup, if you're building a Haaland De Bruyne lineup, you may not be able to pay up for two defenders. So maybe you have to play a Johnny for salary relief, or play a Ruben Diaz at central defense or something. Or if you're not paying up for Ederson at goalkeeper, it really depends on the construction that you're making. If you're doing this the pseudo dinky do, I pretty much don't have to worry about it because I could play two out of Cancelo, Trippier, and Target, or even three of them. And even if I can't afford a third one, maybe I play a Kyle Walker-Peters in my utility, or a Johnny or something like that. But I almost feel like once I get past those top three, I'd rather just have like Romeo Lavia in my utility spot and then find a way to spend money elsewhere. Based on my constructions, it's more likely that I'm going to be playing two or three of these guys, if not all of them.
Are you doing three defenders, Ryan, again, or are you doing something else in utility?
Yeah, no, not for tournaments. Not for tournaments this week. And I agree with Jordan in that most of my lineups will probably only have one of them. I know that's a little bit of a change for me. I like to jam these defenders with set pieces, but I'm not in love with this spot for Newcastle. And these are guys that, rely a lot on set pieces. And, it helps when Newcastle is, I guess, more of a favorite. So, yeah, I think you can get 10 points from some other defenders on this slate, but I still want one of them. My pick would be Cancelo for the upside. But yeah,
I think alike, Ryan.
No, go ahead.
I'm in the same area here. I mean, a lot of people are just going to look at what Trippier and Target did last week, and they're going to see the fantasy points per game against that's on DraftKings and be like, oh, let's plug these guys in because Brighton are terrible against defenders. But as you know, some people may not look back at last week when Brighton went up 2 goals to Manchester United and we're holding on for life for the second 45 minutes of that match. But I would also want to pull up these Newcastle stats from the first game in which they dominated Nottingham Forest by a pretty incredible margin. Just Nottingham Forest didn't get anything done. Total touches in the box, Newcastle had 52. That was 16 more than any other team last week. Manchester City had 36 touches in the box. And, they usually lead that stat pretty much against anyone. But 52 is an almost insane amount to have touches in the box in one match. Newcastle aren't going to do that again. They're away from home. They're at Brighton. They're underdogs now. It's just not the same situation. So if your first strategy is to, plug in Trippier and Target, I think that's an incorrect strategy. So I agree with what you're saying.
For GPPs, it would be. And you pair it with Callum Wilson, cut the correlation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, GPPs, go ahead. Use your Newcastle guys. That's not my strategy, but even for cash games, I'm not
so I agree with you. I agree with some of the stuff you're saying. I don't like them, quite as much as normal. But if you're not playing Haaland, there's still pretty much no reason not to play 2 of them in cash games. So at least you just can. I don't know what else you're doing. I guess
2 out of the 3, not 2 Newcastle, but the 2 Newcastle fullback and Cancelo, right?
Yeah, I think you still play 2 of the 3 in cash if you're not playing Haaland.
What if you're doing like a Manchester City non-Haaland lineup where it's like De Bruyne and Foden or something like that? Or
you can't afford two of them either in that type of build.
I put together a lineup with Foden, De Bruyne, and Ward-Prowse and Cancelo in my line, and it's.
Well, you better make sure Adam Armstrong scores or Joe.
Hey, we got Rebo, we got Pereira, we got Lavia. We mentioned these guys.
I don't know. Like, I think for cash games, and I'll preface it with as someone who never plays cash, but if you just play Gibbs White, Pereira, Ward-Prowse, two of those three defenders, and Ederson, there's 6 of your spots, and then just figure it out if you're not playing Haaland. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It looks too easy, the lineup I came up with.
I just think
Ryan, it's probably the lineup I currently have.
Yeah, probably. There's also one that. Sorry, no, go ahead.
Even if Johnny isn't a fullback, a wingback, he played as a fullback last week. They went with 4 defenders. Wolves did. Like at 4,400, I feel like he almost has, sure there's no set pieces, but it's kind of like the same floor as those Newcastle guys. Like home against Fulham, away to Brighton. Like, why are we just plugging in 10 fantasy points for these Newcastle guys? How many corners are they going to get?
Look.
Like Johnny has a good floor. He gets up the field. It's not like he's like a center back playing fullback. Like he's going to get up the field.
I agree with you. Like I do like Johnny. I wrote about him. Jordan mentioned Johnny. So like I'm with you. There, like it's close, but
I know he doesn't take set pieces, and that's that's right, everything.
For cash, like okay, Johnny could still score 2 points in this spot, and that's going to happen like more than just a few times. Whereas those Newcastle defenders with set pieces, they still probably should get 10 points. I mean, probably. So, I mean, yeah, like for cash, you probably just play them. No, you're never sure.
Why are we giving them 10 points?
I mean,
let's look back at last season.
They take set pieces. I don't know.
At Burnley, at the end of last season, Target had 4.7 points.
How many did he have against Arsenal?
I mean, that was a home match. We're talking home against away. We're talking as a favorite or an underdog.
How many did he have against Arsenal? I don't remember.
He took 17 crosses and had 11 corners. That's not going to happen again.
Why not? What if they go down? Hey, what if they go down 1-0? Newcastle is going to dominate for 80 minutes and he's going to score 18 points and you're going to lose to everybody that played him.
So are you rostering Welbeck and the two Newcastle fullbacks? Is that
just cash?
Yeah, what if Fulham score early and then Johnny sends in 10 crosses from open play? What if?
Okay, well, I mean, I guess.
All right, I'm just saying it's not automatic.
I agree. I just said
I don't know. A good defensive team.
What Ryan is saying is correct. If you looked at the distribution of outcomes of a long-term sample and simulated it out, Trippier and Target have much more normal distributions, which means their mean projection is more likely to be hit because more of their outcomes are closer to it. Johnny, if you look from a long-term sample, you don't game log watch. You don't say, well, let me take a look at home games that do this and that, because that's not the correct way to do it. If you're a data analyst, you actually simulate it out. Johnny has more 2s and 20s than he does close. If you said that Johnny had a 7-point median and Trippier and Target have 10-point medians, like Johnny scores 2 a lot more times than Trippier or Target score 2. Johnny may score 14. Like his range of outcomes is wider. He has a lower median also. He's cheaper as well.
Are you basing this off of last season?
No, basing it. You don't base anything off of last season. You base it off a long-term sample of running all of the stats.
I don't know how many 2s Johnny has had, though. He's always been a pretty solid player.
Adam, you don't do data analysis by analyzing results. You do data analysis by running simulations.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many. If you should never, and I may be highlighting things that you do that you shouldn't be doing. There are 38 games played last year, and if you say, okay, I'm going to go and see how many times Johnny scored more or less than 7, and then base your decision on if he's going to go over or under 7 on a bet like that. That is not the right way. That is why people lose at betting. Like, you should be analyzing. There are certain games, like, it's all noise. Like, every game is different. So in soccer, you have to take what has Johnny done. You have to take Johnny's stats from when he wasn't even on Wolves. You have to take Wolves stats as a fullback when Johnny wasn't in the lineup, and how does a fullback play in that system? You have to do all of that. Now, do I do all of that? Of course not. Right? But that's what you would have to do. So making things like, well, let's take a look at 38 games last season and how many times Johnny put up 2. Well, here he put up 4.7. Here he put up 19. Like that. That does, none of that means anything. It's not last season. It's this game right now. And the distribution of outcomes between Trippier and Target versus Johnny is clearly more normal for Trippier and Target because of their set piece floor. Like, it's clear. It's like you don't have to do any data analysis to know that guaranteed set piece points when they get them is going to make your range of outcomes narrower.
What if it's also clear to me that Wolves are in a better spot home against Fulham than Newcastle are at Brighton?
That's already considered in it.
Is it considered though? Those guys are priced the same as they were last week in the opener.
Okay, so we're talking for cash games.
Yeah. So Adam, I was just going to say,
for GPPs, I agree with you, Adam.
That's why you play Johnny in GPPs, Adam.
Right?
Like, exactly. Because
Newcastle's ceiling is lower, which means if you're jamming in, if Trippier's going to be 48% in the large field GPP, you fade him.
I'm going to join the cash game with you in it. I'm going to use Johnny, and I'm going to beat you. That's how it's going to go.
I mean, you could.
I'm not saying not to use Johnny. I'm saying in a construction without Haaland, there's no reason not to. What am I supposed to do? Leave money on the table? I mean, here's the question. This would be the question. Do you play Gibbs White at 6,600 or Rodrigo at 5,300? But with Rodrigo, you get Trippier. And with Johnny, you get the other, you get Johnny or Ederson. Like,
I had 100%
you're able to play
Gibbs White.
Right? It's like one or the other. It's like, what's the trade-off? It's not just a 1v1.
I mean, I'd still play Gibbs White, but in that situation. But
let's say you're playing Gibbs White and Haaland in your lineup.
Would
you trade out Gibbs White for Rodrigo in order to get Trippier versus Johnny? The question may be no for GPP, because you're not playing Gibbs White for a ceiling. You're playing Gibbs White for a floor. You'll play Bamford in that lineup for a ceiling. So really the question is not which one is better. It's which format are you playing? And in cash games, you want the players with the highest median projection to have the narrowest range of outcomes versus playing guys that have high variance. Variance is positive for you in GPPs. It's negative for you in cash games. So the whole argument we're making here is that the Newcastle forwards, even in an away matchup against Brighton, are more likely to hit their median than Johnny is to hit their median, regardless. But from a ceiling perspective, Johnny has a wider range of outcomes, so it makes more sense to play a lower-owned Johnny and a cheaper Johnny in GPP.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Adam, I see what you're saying. Like, so Johnny was pretty good last year in that it is a small sample, and it was we were surprised to see him crushing.
He's off 2 ACL injuries
consistently like that. Yeah, but we've been playing Johnny for years. I mean, since I started playing soccer DFS, I remember Jordan joking about him on podcasts. Like, he was in conversations back then. He was incredibly inconsistent back then. I see what you're saying though. Like, a player can change. There's a new manager, new team. Like, is he better now for DFS than he used to be? Maybe, even probably, but it's still, the sample is still way too small. And yeah, everything Jordan said, the range of outcomes is just much wider than guys with set pieces, where it just doesn't make sense really for cash games. I mean, he's still like, I see what you're saying though. I like that spot better than Newcastle's spot.
It also depends what you're doing with the extra $1,000, $1,500.
Right. It's not a 1v1.
Yeah. Otherwise, a defender. I mean, we could go down here. The one I noticed on the odds, like we have some weird odds for the Leeds fullbacks are surprisingly high for some reason. So if you follow odds, you can get both. You can get Christensen at plus 700 to score, and you can get Diego Llorente at plus 850 to score. So if you want to plug those guys in for goals, there you go. Jordan's like, what?
Yeah, why are those odds like that? That has to be.
I don't know. Something seems wrong.
They normally would be like plus 1,800 or something. I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah, they're even above Shane Duffy here at plus 1,000.
Oh, okay. No one can be above Shane Duffy.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I guess we gotta mention Zinchenko here. We didn't talk about him. 6,000, not in cash games, any GPP. No, I'm getting some.
Definitely not in cash games, but even in GPP, it's tough. But I think it's okay with Arsenal. Like he was much more forward than I thought he was going to be. And that makes sense with Ben White at right back. So like, I think that would happen again. Zinchenko can score and he can assist. I mean, we just saw it. So I would probably, pair it with Arsenal guys. But yeah, I think it's fine because I'm not in love with the Newcastle guys and I don't see many people rostering Zinchenko. So it's fine for tournaments. I see this guy in chat. Sorry, I just saw all this Callum Wilson and Newcastle talk. I guess we didn't really mention Callum Wilson.
Well, I'm just not. Yeah, the Newcastle fullbacks with them. There you go.
Yeah, right. I'm just like this guy's. I agree. Wilson's been good and Newcastle have been great. Yeah, I agree 100% with this guy. I'm just not really targeting that game. It has a low total. We know last year, I mentioned this last year, and Adam rips on me for it, but I don't love playing guys at Brighton. Now, we saw a couple times, of course, they give up 3 or 4, whatever, but it seemed to work out most of the time too. If you want to play Wilson and your Newcastle guys, the argument is that they'll be very low owned. So yeah, it is fine in GPPs. It's just not a spot I'm really looking at.
Yeah, Brighton allowed 23 goals in 19 home matches last season. So I think the cheapest fullback we're getting here is Pascal Strike again, everyone's favorite. He had a floor 7.1 last match, but he's 3,400. I guess you got the Bournemouth guys down here for fullbacks, but no one's really looking at them. Anyone else that stands out you guys want to play here?
Down there, I'd rather play the Man City center backs.
Yeah, Ruben Diaz, pretty cheap here, 3,500 when you're considering the 60% clean sheet chance. He should be 4,000 something. So,
yeah, same. Give me the Man City center backs. Yep.
Yeah. All right, goalkeeper. We mentioned Ederson, so there's
no other person to mention.
It seems like if you don't go Haaland, you're going Ederson, correct? But if you don't go,
Ederson is 1,000 underpriced on this slate. Like based on the dynamic pricing, like they always price it like this. Man City are 90% win chances, 62% clean sheet chances. Ramsdale is what? It's 100 cheaper than Ederson.
It's almost funny that he's only 100 cheaper.
Right. 62% win chances, 38% clean sheet chances. So like from a perspective, like Ederson should be what? 6,800 on this slate in comparison to those odds. I mean, to me, it's very clear that like you're either playing Ederson or you're paying all you're there's no point in anyone else. I mean, obviously in GPP, whatever, who knows what happens. But in cash games, I think you're going Ederson and if you go down to whatever. It really doesn't matter. Probably Danny Ward. If you're not playing, people probably won't play Arsenal in cash. So you're playing Danny
Ward.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I agree. Definitely Ederson. I would play Ederson. Ederson's underpriced. Ederson. Yeah, I agree with all that. I would not play Danny Ward in cash. I mean, at least try to get up to Pope or Rodak or someone. Yeah, I mean, I know anything can happen, but I don't want to get killed when Leicester lose 3-0. At least you think those other guys can come away with a clean sheet.
How about Travers? Why don't you just play Travers and just hope for a ton of saves?
Yeah, so that's okay. That'd be more okay. That'd be more okay.
Well, why can't that be the same with Ward? Why can't Arsenal have like a million shots?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it can be, but
it's the same argument. I mean, I don't like doing that myself.
Well, I know you're in that like sort of in between land then. Like I don't even like playing Travers. Like I know people do, but like you got to be sure they're going to just face a ton of shots and hope they don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I think I just put together a popular cash lineup here. Let me know what you guys think. So we got Haaland and Aribo at forward. We got JWP and Pereira at midfield. We got Cancelo and Target at defense. We got Ederson at goalkeeper. Lavia utility. That's $300 left.
That sounds reasonable for a Haaland cash lineup.
That feels like it's going to be a lot of people are kind of be going to that.
No, but that's a reasonable cash line.
Well, I mean, based off what you guys are talking about, I mean, Haaland will probably be 50 or something percent in cash games, given
probably not in the high stakes.
Not in high stakes, but
right. Okay. Well, that's all I care about. I do not think the Haaland lineups are personally. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's kind of the only way you can go.
Staramek and Redcoat and Pugh will have Haaland in their lineup and they kill me or something like that.
I wonder what. Okay, so here I'll give you one because this actually works kind of perfect. So Pereira, Ward, Prowse, right? Gibbs, White, Aribo, like plug those four in. Plug in the best Ederson and Target. So you got 6. You got those 6, right? Then this was the 2v2 I was talking about. It'd be easy to just go, I'm not Trippier, and then you see what you get. But if you wanted Haaland, you just have to play Ruben Diaz. So what's the better 2v2, Haaland or Ruben Diaz or Neto and Trippier?
Yeah, but I don't think you played Neto at a midfield only at 8,200.
Yeah, but so who are you playing? That's why I asked earlier about. I'm anxious to hear who you're playing in the flex because the flex.
Well, that's why I said I think the flex ends up with me either playing the third defender or someone like Jack Grealish.
Yeah. Okay. I Grealish I like. I worry that 3 defenders, even for cash, I would maybe want a little more upside. I don't know. Like I like Neto's chances of scoring 25. Like it just bails you out a little bit, and the defenders probably aren't going to do that. Cancelo can, obviously.
For the lineup you just put in, Ryan, this is for cash games. This is all cash games here. So you put Haaland in your utility. Would you rather have Lavia than Aribo in cash games?
How are you ending up with Haaland in your utility in cash games when we don't want to play any forwards?
Well, that was just what he came to. Like he was putting together a lineup. He's like, you can put Diaz in.
Sorry, yeah, it was because I had Gibbs, White, and Aribo, and I was just looking at it 2v2.
Yeah.
Do
you guys like
Gibbs, White, and
Aribo Lavia more? I guess Aribo,
I don't think he's necessary. He's the third midfielder. To me, Pereira, Ward, Prowse, and then if you need the utility on Lavia, then that's more than Haaland lineup.
Yeah,
so, I'm not prioritizing Lavia.
So I think it's fine, Adam, but again, it's the same thing. Like I like, even though like Joe Aribo is not a cash player, Adam Armstrong is not a cash play, but them against Lavia, like. Armstrong and Aribo have the chance at 25, and you just win cash. So you have to pay $1,300 more. You have to pay $1,200 more for a chance to just win. So I like those, like Neto, like a guy that's not going to be crazy popular. If the rest of your lineup is really good and you're not making mistakes elsewhere, and you have a guy with a floor and upside where if they score, you just win cash. I like adding in a little bit of upside.
All right, Neto is Ryan's guy. Jordan, who is your guy?
Oh, my guy? I need to have a guy?
Yeah, your guy. Your guy, you know these people personally. You know
I know these
Johnny
people
personally. Yeah.
Oh, I do. Who's my guy? Maybe.
I think it's Target. That's your guy.
No. Why would Target be my guy? Maybe it's Alexa. Maybe Alexis McAllister.
Yes. We turned you off of him, so he's probably going to score now. So
Right, 4,900.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's still on PKs. So yeah.
Right, because I get the bailout PK. That's exactly.
Yep.
He'll have 1.5 points through 83 minutes.
It happened last season, towards the end of last season. I remember he was like chalk one week, and he ended up playing defense and got the PK bailout.
Yeah. All right, I think that's all we got. We discussed everything. We had a 10-minute conversation on Johnny, which is always fun. Last week I think it was Bournemouth and I don't know, whoever, Southampton. But that's all we got. So RotoWire.com, the entire show, if you're watching on Twitter, watching on YouTube, RotoWire.com/soccer trial. You can get our cheat sheets. As you can see, we have cheat sheets for everything. We got an interleague slate that starts, I believe, at 2:30 Eastern today. So that's coming up shortly. We got Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund's playing. We got Liga MX. We got it all. Just scroll through that. And yeah, free 10-day trial, RotoWire.com/soccer trial. But like and subscribe. Make sure to like this video if you're watching on YouTube. I see we got 20 live viewers right now. So thank you for watching. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Ryan is at Ryan Belongia on Twitter. Jordan is at BlenderHD. And as usual, you can find us on our Discord. Of course, you got to be a member. So get that free 10-day trial. Check that out. And we always have some good conversations Saturday morning. But thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Jordan. We will see everyone next week for another DFS DraftKings discussion. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.